Well, welcome back, Insiders. Another episode of the Invo Insider is live, and I am excited for today's episode. Could not be more pumped for our special guest. And we have Jeremy of Heartland Credit Union with us, Chief Experience Officer. And I want to give you a little bit of background before we jump in. First on Heartland. So Heartland Credit Union, just down the road from Invo HQ in Hutchinson, Kansas, a place I've been to many times. Currently operating 9 retail locations, approaching almost 40,000 members in service, which is fantastic. In addition to that, Heartland was one of the very first adopters of the Invo Solutions platform many moons ago, and we'll more than likely get into that quite a bit. But Jeremy, what a great story. Jeremy's bringing 14 years of experience to the podcast today, which I think will be excellent for all of you insiders that are here to get some information on how do we get this started? What does it look like to have current perspectives on member service? We've got the man for the job here today. Has done a number of things in the credit union, from AVP of retail branches, Chief Consumer Officer, Chief Experience Officer. And before that, I think he was still just barely working on getting his driver's permit. This dude is still young and a firecracker, but he'll always be a Wichita Shocker deep down in his soul. But enough about me telling you the insider about this guy. Let's hear from himself. Jeremy, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate the warm welcome. As Jake said, Jeremy Stauffacher, now Chief Consumer Officer at Heartland Credit Union, prior Chief Experience Officer. Not necessarily promotion, just a realignment of the credit union itself, some changes in responsibilities, but again, not necessarily promotion. A little bit of background. I started in the financial world at a small community bank in South Hutchinson, Kansas. It was family owned. The owner of the bank had, very strict policies and procedures for new hires. And at the time, those were to put each new hire through every department of the bank. So I got to go anywhere from, now this is a few years ago, to being a loan teller, a traditional teller, drive-through teller. I worked in the accounting department, real estate, loans, a little bit of the treasury services. Frustrating at the time, but looking back now, was very, very beneficial to my career path, education, and growth. From there, I actually went back to school, had some thoughts of maybe getting into pharmaceuticals, and just decided that all that science didn't really fit what I was wanting to do as a career. And getting out of college from that graduation point, started in the dark world of auto finance. Was actually a finance manager for a local car lot for about 6.5, almost 7 years. And while the pay was good, the hours and just the outlook and responsibilities of the job did not really fit with my internal core values. So position was open at Heartland Credit Union. I really, honestly, at the time didn't know much about credit unions, but knew, again, I kind of wanted to change. I applied for the position and was hired as, at the time, was basically a new accounts representative, didn't have any lending authority, was just there to open accounts.
Sure.
Before I started, I was actually promoted because the individual in the branch that was the loan officer had quit. So I asked the HR director at the time, how long can I play this out? If I wait a couple more weeks, you think maybe I could be branch manager before I even started. Didn't work. I did have to go to work. But from there, was promoted to branch manager after about 90 days, AVP of retail branch operations, VP of sales and service, then to the experience officer, and now Chief Consumer Officer.
Wow. What a great story. What's crazy is while you were talking about your entire journey, and you and I have known each other for a few years now, I didn't realize how similar our stories were. So my first 2 years out of college, I was in the automobile industry in sales, and then 9 years in the pharmaceutical industry.
No kidding.
This is my 15th year in this industry, and you're right at 14 years, right?
Yeah.
So like we have followed very similar paths. I think you just made a point to make sure that everyone knew I was older than you by making sure you said you had 14 into my 15, but that's okay. We'll let that slide. So that's good. Yeah, that's great. I feel like I'm going to have a whole bunch of things I'm going to talk to you about offline, which doesn't help any of our audience today, but that's okay. That's okay. It's good. Your journey in this industry, though, I think is a really telling story, because there's so many things along that path that all relate to customer service. And I think that's the heart of what you're doing today. So why don't we just start out talking about your journey specifically within Heartland and at the credit union space? Talk a little about your perspectives of how the industry has changed, maybe how business has changed at Heartland in general, or in the industry as a whole during your time here.
Yeah, at Heartland, we've always been a member-centric, member-focused credit union, as I'm sure everyone watching feels the same about their credit union. That's what is, very special about our industry. On top of that, we've prided ourselves on really being a lending machine. If we're asking for your deposits and paying you a very competitive rate, what are we doing with our owners' money? And that is giving it back to them to be able to, deliver on whatever those dreams may be: home ownership, first car, credit card. Everybody's dream is a little bit different. And that really remains our mission and our focus today. Today's environment is much, much different than it was when I started. Competitors are really coming after our members' business from everywhere: traditional, non-traditional, in-market, out-of-market. So being able to compete not only on price and product, but also on, relationship and being that go-to. We always preached back when I first started about being the primary financial institution, and it feels like in today's industry that has maybe gone away. They say, credit union members have 5 to 7 financial institution relationships, so it's very splintered. So we've changed that PFI here, instead of primary financial institution, to being the permanent financial institution. So we want to be that person, that industry that they think of 15 years down the line. It may not be for everything, but we're the first thing that they think of. And we're at least in that conversation to have a shot at whatever that business may be.
Yeah, it's good. And I love that. It's funny how, funny is not the right word, but how you can put a vision statement on an objective, I think, is key. So changing from primary to permanent seems like just nuance, but I really think that laser focuses the efforts there. So think about Heartland for a second within this market, very competitive market that you guys operate in, probably like most of our other guests would say as well. But what is it that makes Heartland unique? So you think about how to position yourself as a permanent financial partner to your membership base. What is it that Heartland is doing? Is there anything you can narrow down? And I would love for you to go as deep on this as you'd like, but I'd love to hear the unique stories about what makes your institution unique in a very competitive world today.
Yeah, really what we lean on for being unique is what we title our truths, which are really our organizational values. 5 of them being: our purpose is to serve, we value people, community is at our core, we embrace change, and ultimately, from all that, we deliver results. And then kind of above and beyond the truths, we have to have incredible, committed people to deliver on those truths. So for me, those are the big unique items that kind of keep us going each and every day through these really competitive times, through the challenging times that we went through with COVID and the recession back in 08 and 09. I mean, the values and the truths and the people are what keep us going for our members.
I love that. And it is about having a clear objective, like you said, right? Being that partner, having the same interest in mind. I believe that's what really guides, how do we set a course for all those things? Well, you're going to make a lot of decisions if that's the true north for the organization. What in the last few years do you think has become more and more relevant? The reason I asked that, I was at a conference and I asked this question of a couple of credit union executives and community banking executives, and I got very similar answers. But the competitive landscape today is way different than it was, 5 or 10 years ago. Like, nobody knew who Ally Bank was with these digital only providers, that it doesn't matter where you're at, which I have another opinion on completely. And we could talk about that in another episode. But, how do we remain relevant and competitive through delivery channels, through strategies, through partnerships today differently than maybe we did, even 10 years ago is a long time. So even 5 years ago, I always say it's a pre and post COVID world today, but I'm curious on your perspectives for that.
Yeah, to me, relevancy is again, remaining in the conversation with our members. And to me, that's consistent communication, having the member at the center of all the decisions within the credit union, whether that be new products, new services that are being offered, how we're pricing, what communities that we are putting, the next branch into to serve. And then going back to the truths, we value people. I mean, people really do business with people. So we've got to have top shelf, committed, engaged people from our perspective, knowing that they believe in our truths, they believe in the credit union, they believe in our mission in order to take that out to our members and deliver the results. Our vision statement really speaks to, like you said, the North Star, your friend and partner, delivering solutions one dream at a time.
Yeah, that's good.
Keeping in mind that, today may be the third time we've heard somebody talk about a credit card, but for you, Jake, that dream of having a credit card may be totally different than person A that was in 2 hours ago. So knowing that each time is a new opportunity, a fresh take, and a different situation for our member, and being able to have those conversations and guide their financial wellness, their financial lives, and being that trusted partner.
Yeah, that's good. What a challenge to not only recruit but retain talent today. I mean, you talked about that, and making sure that you have, that saying from a very good movie, the best of the best, right? How challenging has it been? I'm imagining you guys aren't on an island. You have had difficulty as well in your area that you guys operate, but how have you guys went about making sure you've got the right people in the right place? This is a constant challenge. I'm just curious on your perspectives, but how do you make sure you have the right people in the right roles, servicing your members in the right capacity, and then maintaining them in those roles as well?
Yeah, I'll say the hiring and what we've looked for in those candidates has changed pretty dramatically over even the last 3 to 5 years. Before, it was very heavy looking for, do they have experience in the financial world? Do they know how to balance a cash drawer? And now, I honestly don't care anything about that type of experience. What's your attitude like? How engaging can you be? Are you confident enough to ask some mildly probing questions? Are you someone that cares about, that cause, about our organization, and can relate to people easily? I can teach you, or Amy can teach you how to manage and balance a drawer. We can teach you about all the systems. I can't coach, train, and teach you on having a positive and engaging personality. And challenges, yes, there have been a lot of challenges. It feels like that's maybe getting better. This year we did make some changes in our HR department and added a recruiter to that team. And we have seen a lot of benefit from that role. We've been able to fill positions much, much quicker. Still some struggles with certain positions, but for the most part, we have seen that. I don't want to jinx anything, but we have seen that get a lot better over the last, I would say, 90 to 120 days. Felt like we would go weeks and sometimes months without seeing a qualified application, and that's definitely not the case right now.
Oh, that's awesome. Have you guys had to change or realign any of the roles within your organization because of the challenges in hiring or retaining staff, or maybe because of those issues, you found some new ways to see and align people in the role differently than maybe you did before because of that? One of those where you're forced to make changes and then you find out the outcome is even better because of that?
Yeah, we've tried to find, while we were unable to hire individuals, where are our efficiency gains? Where can we maybe look at hiring up in one area? Sometimes maybe an additional person, they may not be needed right now, but we've at least got that individual on deck. Because the frontline teller position can be, a high traffic turnover area, from someone being promoted in the organization to them finding, another career path somewhere else, and having a couple on deck to know that if someone does move or promoted, we've got someone that we can quickly slide into that position and not have to be so stressed and run so short staffed as we try to find that replacement.
Yeah, that's good. When you think about the tech, and I mean, just go full scope here. So this isn't a narrowing focus to get into the conversation just about Invo. We'll get there eventually. But when you think about the tech that you guys have deployed over the last 5-ish years or so, how have you aligned staffing to that? And has that changed how you've aligned staffing? And of course, everyone that's here, they're probably asking themselves, because this is what I hear all the time, like, hey, are you using cash recyclers for retail? Are you using interactive teller machines in some form or capacity? Are you using video banking? What does your online and digital platforms look like? As you've analyzed all of those, what I view are member service channels, right? Which is,
Yeah.
at least from your point, either you're making a direct impact on decisions there with your role, or you're at least weighing in on those decisions representing the member service channel. Have those technologies or different technologies that you have deployed over the last 5 years or so impacted different roles and in different ways that you've catered to the members through those new technology channels?
We've tried to make the teller role, the advisor one role that's got the most contact with members on a daily basis and even repetitive contact, to be less of a transactional mindset and more of a relationship building, knowing that they don't necessarily have lending limits or the ability to open, close loans or accounts, but being aware of, listening to certain cues that they may hear through that conversation, and being able to identify them, which department it should go to, and then get those referrals either out to that individual or department, get some type of a commitment from member to be ready for, open to that phone call. And that can definitely be a struggle. We've had some long tenured advisor one teller positions, and that referral was not a part of the job for a long time. And
Sure.
making those changes, sales can feel like a dirty word to some, but it's really not sales; it's service. And
Right.
If we're not asking it, then Ally, for example, is going to send them a mailer and an email, and they're going to ask, and then that member may wonder, why didn't Heartland ever ask me that question? Do they not care about my relationship or what else is out there? So being able to incorporate those habits into those daily interactions, finding the right people that are open and confident enough to do that is where we've kind of changed based on technology adds to the branch.
Man, I love that perspective. And this is just an opportunity to kind of maybe shower some praise on you and the leadership team. But every organization I've had the opportunity to have dialogue with over the last several years have shared the same perspective that you have on the retail side or the teller side of things, because it is about service. It's not just about cash anymore, right? And if you have the ability for that individual to focus on that relationship, because man, you're not kidding, and they're not just getting a mailer from Ally either, right? They're getting a mailer from everybody, and they're ending up on email campaigns from others, and if they are, like you said, where you guys are, your goal is to be their permanent financial institution, and I love that language. But if you're currently only occupying a portion of that wallet share, they're still getting communication from X number of other organizations, so you guys have to be talking about it. And it's not, you're right. Sometimes it's kind of unwinding that mental thread of what sales means, but what sales is just a language, that is applicable to promoting a product or a service. And you don't have to do it in a quote unquote salesy way. You could do it as an advisor, which is what you described. And I love that. How's the outcomes been? I know you started to kind of just tease a little bit there about, some of the actual real world results of doing that, maybe some pushback in different areas, but universally, is that the model that you guys have deployed at Heartland right now?
Yeah, it is. It's been worked into all the individual goals from our frontline team and even our eBranch contact center. They've got referral goals as well. And honestly, it's really taken off in 2022 and 2023. The realignment put all the branches under one individual. So the message is the same, the coaching is the same, the goals are the same. Again, we're all working towards the same end results, and this has gone a really long way in helping build that kind of interdepartment collaboration and sharing stories and letting the teams know what their referrals have ended up creating and closing and helping our members get through is a really great way to, every month starts over at zero, but if I can remember what happened then, it's a lot easier to start from zero and start putting up those numbers.
Yeah, that's good. You actually started to take us down a path which I was planning to transition to, so thank you for that. And that's the perspective of branches. And for me, and of course, from my perspective where I sit, coming from a software space, but having even a longer time of my career in servicing the physical branch exclusively before this time period of my life at Invo. I view the physical retail branch as a channel, just like I view the online or web arena as a branch, a digital channel, and then this guy right here, who is my branch that goes everywhere with me, right? So that's my mobile branch, if you will. Talk to me a little bit about the strategies in your individual perspective about how at Heartland you're approaching the physical and then those two digital channels as branches when it comes to service to the member.
Yeah, like you said, they're all relevant channels, and we want to be available and ready to do business with our members regardless of which channel they choose. Mm-hmm. We understand that those visits to the branch are going to start becoming less and less because of that, branch in your hand. So being able to ensure that those interactions that we have in the branch, we are, fully taking advantage of the conversations that we have, and then making sure that that experience that members have between their mobile, the digital, in branch, over the phone with our contact center or one of our various departments, that it's consistent. And that may not mean that everything happens the same way, but the feel, the experience, the results are the same no matter which channel they prefer to use. So anytime that, they end that interaction, they feel like they've done business with Heartland Credit Union.
That's good. That's a good litmus test. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think that old phrase, like, it needs to be an omni-channel experience. Well, that was great like 10 years ago, but now it's how do we create it like a seamless experience across all that? And there's different terminology you could apply to that. But what are you guys doing to, kind of have a litmus test to ensure that those touches all feel the same, or that the member experience and the outcome is what you're wanting it to be? How does that look? How are you guys doing that?
It was a lot of testing, and even, what our prior chief technology officer at the time, eat your own dog food type of a scenario that we're testing and working through, and making sure that, when we go online, when we utilize our remote deposit capture, when we go on to make a payment, when we walk into a branch, that, we get what we're expecting to feel when we do business with Heartland. And then recently, July of last year, actually, we implemented MLG's survey software. We dubbed Voice of the Member internally. And so it provides some feedback to us from the members through email surveys on new account openings, new product openings, any type of transactions that they may have at our various branches, interactions with our contact center, and even with our technology. And then going back and, obviously reviewing that data as to any themes or threads that we need to address, maybe something that needs to be celebrated, something that's missing that we need to add. And then we have those individual departments follow up with the members that leave feedback, just to have a conversation, again, identify, let them know we hear you, we're listening, and how can we be better? And then putting that, if it, rises to the top, rises to something that we need to make changes to, goes into a funnel, and our project team prioritizes those, and we get them into action.
That's great. How do you go about making the decision on what questions are being asked in relation to products? Is it all products? Is it specifically different products or channels? Who formulates those? Who takes ownership of those surveys?
The surveys, it's a 3-person team: myself, our VP of Retail Branch Operations, and then our AVP of Education. And MLG, the vendor, does have they've got a lot of best practices, use cases, so they do give a significant amount of input from what they have seen from different credit unions and financials, and even organizations outside of the financial industry. So they've helped to set that bar, and then we've adjusted some of the terminology, some of the language to make it feel more like us. But for the most part, a lot of those questions and how they were asked came from our partner.
That's good. So when all those results are coming in, well, actually, we'll start there. So how often are you distributing these surveys to kind of inspect what you expect from a channel or a product or a service? How frequently are these going out?
Yeah, they're going out daily.
Okay.
each and every day. The kind of nuances, if you got a survey today, you're put into what they call a 90-day quarantine period. So we don't want to, just burn you out with surveys day after day. If you're someone that likes to come in the branch, visit with their favorite teller, and pull out $10 every day. So every 90 days, if you were interacting with the credit union in some way, shape, or form, you would get a survey.
That's good. I like that cadence. It's not too much. It's not overwhelming.
Yeah.
You'll be more likely to probably to reply and fill something out. So when that data is all coming in, you're analyzing it. Who's responsible for combing through that, identifying, what's working and providing that feedback to teams or responding to maybe negative outcomes?
Yeah, each department head handles anything that comes back to their branch. The software is able to tell us which branch the interaction or the transaction occurred at. If it's a product, then it would go back to the product owner. And then Amy, who is the VP of Retail Branch Operations, and myself, just kind of analyze and review those review responses on a fairly regular basis. We have weekly check-ins, and we'll keep that on the agenda to go through. And then there are alerts that come out. So if someone is not doing, the proper follow-up, following the cadence, the feedback loop that has been established, those can be addressed fairly quickly.
That's great. I appreciate you getting in kind of to the weeds there. That's probably the right language, but I will tell you, we talk a lot about that. If you're going to set a bar, how do you measure where, how closely your members are coming to that bar? And so I love that. I think that level of detail is really going to help a lot of people in understanding, deploying something like that, and then measuring that. And I love that. I love the CTAs that come along with it. So let's talk about digital. I think that digital, if we think about your website, your mobile platform, has been we'll just call that the digital reach, has accelerated so tremendously in the last several years. What have you learned? So when you think about strategies, even just applying for something online or completing a document or finding information and seeking a solve, what have you guys seen and learned? And you can address this individually or personally or as a body at Heartland, but what have you found behaviors changing within the member? What have you found and maybe new things that you guys have deployed over the last 5 years or so in the digital space specifically?
It really comes down to speed, ease of use, and immediate is really what it feels like. Everybody, not just our members, but consumers in general, and including myself, want everything to be done where I want it, when I want it, and now.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait 2 days to have my card mailed to me. I want to be able to get it when I come in and apply.
2 days is too long. That's what I heard somebody say that recently at a conference. They're like, 2 days is too long if that's your benchmark. And I'm like, wow, thanks, Amazon.
It's true. It's true. I want that card directly onto my phone so I can go tap to pay whenever I want to use it.
Yeah.
I don't want to wait 48 hours for a loan approval. So being able to deliver on those, at least for the majority, not everything's going to fit into that box, and we understand that. But for the most part, for those members that do, we want to make sure that we are delivering to those expectations. And then being able to have all of those various products and services available to them. I mean, we're not necessarily just a checking account, a place to park your money. We're a financial wellness shop. We're here to provide you your credit score. We're here to give you counseling to help you either start, rebuild, or begin your credit journey, whatever that might be. So again, being that one-stop shop for our members, not only in person, but via the digital world, our app, .coop, whatever that may be, that those tools and resources are there and readily available, kept up to date, kept current, to make sure that our members have what they need.
Yeah, that's good. And there's something you said in there that I have really started to hear the volume turned up on, and that's that whole removing friction in the experience, right? So
yeah,
we kind of joked about that 2 days is too long. I think right in line with that is almost like 2 clicks could be too long. Like how long does it take me to find what I'm looking for? Do you guys follow that member journey in your digital environments? Like go and test run or audit, hey, how long does it take me to find this? Or, if I'm going to seek something out, how difficult is it to locate? Do you guys ever do any? This is me kind of just asking you to be honest and maybe just a little bit vulnerable, but is that something you guys test? Is there an audit process or that secret shopper formula that ever gets exercised?
It's there. I would say it's not a formal process. Interesting that you asked that. We had a demo with MLG, the vendor partner for our surveys, and they have a new software that allows us to go back and look at every member interaction with our website to see how long they were on a page. It'll even tell you if they were kind of erratically scrolling or moving all over the page to show you that they are, most likely frustrated because they can't find what they want. And then, how long it took them to get to the end result, what that played out to be. So we're entertaining the fact of bringing that on board so we would have regular checkups and being able to identify if, when, where, and how, it's not hitting the mark for our members and be able to make those adjustments.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. We talk a lot about that here in house as well. Like, how do we help you service the member in the most direct line that you can, right? So you're not having to scroll over your website to find a drop down menu or a button or a widget or all these things. It should be front and center and easy to find and access. So that's good. I like that. Okay, so when you think about, I like to call this is the lessons learned segment with Jeremy. So when you think about how much has changed over the last 3 years, there's what I call key challenges that we've identified or lessons learned. So have you seen things happen where you're like, oh my gosh, we've got to do this differently, or we've done it this way for a long time and now we can't because behaviors have changed or expectations have changed? What would you identify are some of those key challenges that you guys have seen within the member service channel?
For me, honestly, the biggest one is ensuring that the bar, the standard that you expect to see from the member experience is set, established, and communicated. We didn't really have a set of standards, if you will, around member experience, and we had a few buzzwords, but nothing really formally documented. And I'm sure, as you well know, if you don't have something out there saying what it will be, somebody's going to create their own standard, they're going to create their own culture, and then that's what's going to be their manner of operating within that department or branch.
Yeah.
And so 2 years ago, we took on the task of creating experience standards. I'm a big acronym guy, and ours is kind of easy to throw something in there. So we created the Heartland service standards, being help, engage, anticipate, reliable, and take action. And then we've got different bullet points that come along with that. And then just consistently keeping that, top of mind out in front of our teams and telling everyone and educating everyone that this isn't just for frontline member-facing team members to engage in, to practice. This is, accounting's members are the support individuals that they're taking care of each and every day internally. Loan processing's members may not be external members, but they're our consumer lending team, they're our underwriting team. They have members that report to that department. And so those Heartland service standards, they're intertwined in all we do in all of our activities and all of our conversations, not just something for an external member-facing team member to have actively participate in.
That's good. No, I think that's great, and I love acronyms as well. Sometimes I think we have too many of them here, but they usually are created for a reason. Ryan, who's on the back end here, is our brand manager, creative manager, if you will, and I think he hears me mention one more acronym, he's going to throw something at me. But I think that they've got staying power. Let's kind of bring this. I would say this is a larger scale conversation just about the industry and about perspectives of how things have changed within Heartland, within the credit union space over the last several years. But I want to ask you a question, kind of put you on the spot, if you will. Again, I want to pull Invo out of this. So, what do you think has been a technology that has most significantly impacted engagement within the members? And it could be something that you do, that you're doing now, you're deploying now, you have deployed, you would like to deploy. But when I think about the industry, there's so many good things that are out there. and there's just as many good things out there that are not good. So I'm always curious about what when your boots on the ground, what does that look like? But when you think about you as a consummate professional and someone who operates with a credit union that's so successful, what is a technology that you believe has been or could be significantly impactful to engaging your members?
I mean, there's a couple that kind of stand out to me. Number one, the voice of the member surveys to me has been very impactful just from an engagement standpoint. As a consumer, you can very, easily think that your voice doesn't matter, that you're not being heard, from the smallest to the biggest company. And we've heard multiple times when our branch managers, myself, Amy, have reached out to them to let them know, hey, we've read your response. We appreciate the feedback. How can we be better? These are the things we're going to implement to make the changes to, meet the standards that you expect from us and that we should be delivering on. And some of them have even told us, whoa, I don't know that I would have put that if I thought someone was really going to read it, because they had, obviously names included, and they had a relationship, friendship with one of these individuals that they were kind of calling out on the survey. So yeah, their feedback was, man, I don't know that I would have put that if I would have thought someone was going to read it. So
that's good.
The other one is the onboarding software that our marketing team uses to both kind of put individuals down certain tracks, depending upon how they are currently engaging with the credit union or not engaging with the credit union, or how they open their account. Savings only, indirect loan, they go down one track. Savings account, checking, they go down a different track. But just that constant communication, keeping Heartland in their minds, and then teaming that up with some personal contact from either the relationship manager that opened the account for the member or our outbound team to, again, just provide that personal touch, check in, make sure there's nothing else that we can do. So a little bit of that high-tech, high-touch type piece of collaboration between digital and the person itself. And then I think coming payments. I mean, we've got to be at least, in the top echelon of being able to provide the payment solutions that members need. That may be card not present, or terminals inside of, whatever their favorite boutique shopping center is, or, paying your buddy after going out to Applebee's for, steak night.
For a second, I thought that was an invite. I got excited. I'm always down for steak night. Just want to put that out there.
Check.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's good. And again, the central north through all that was servicing and serving the member, right? So you've got that true north set, and each one of those things aligns to that. So I think that's exceptional, and I appreciate you sharing those insights. I think that's illuminating for others that are also considering what's on their strategic plan, strategic goal, and when it comes to servicing the member, those are good things to consider and think about. All right, so let's kind of move on to chapter 2, if you will. Here, I really now want to dive in to illuminate and share your perspectives of Invo and working through some of our solutions and technology that you've had quite a bit of experience with. So let's go all the way back in time to the very beginning when Heartland was looking at deploying and doing something different. Because at the time this was rolled out, I mean, this was a disruptor tech, right? So there was very few others that were doing it. So take us back there. What was the thought process to deploy a new channel such as video banking? And I would even say, if you don't mind to share the story with the audience as if they don't know anything about what you're doing with it, or even how it started. So I'll let you kind of tell that story in whatever fashion you would like, but walk that out for us, and for everyone that's here that might even be considering doing something but hasn't done it yet. What was that like for you in Heartland?
Yeah, so it actually started before we began conversations with Invo. I had the pleasure of going to the GAC, I think it was in 2017, and there was some video banking vendors at the conference, and I had a couple of conversations with a few of them, and it just felt like the next evolution of what our industry was going to be moving into. And so I was AVP of Retail Branch Operations, probably less than 5 months into my position. And I brought that idea back to our CEO, who had been at the credit union for probably 30 years or so at the time. And he kind of looked at me like I was crazy. And the idea was, very quickly dismissed. And then at the HCUA annual meeting a couple of years ago, our CEO at the time and I sat in on a breakout session that was a collab between Invo and Azura Credit Union out of Topeka, Kansas. And I was very excited to see, what the solution looked like, especially from someone here in Kansas, close to home. My, ability to sell this may be a little bit better. And man, my CEO fell in love with it just as I did, a couple of years prior. And the thought was just, number one, the collaboration that could create between a sales team, being able to learn just by observing and hearing, your partner over here on the right-hand side of you. Man, that worked really well for you. Teach me, let me hear you do that again. Talk to me about how, the member came back to you in that form or fashion. Again, just to increase their growth, their education, and their ability to deliver for our members. Then the other one was we operate a lot of different specific products for our members. We've got a big time real estate department. We have our Heartland Wealth Strategies, and we've been involved in commercial lending and commercial accounts for a number of years. The problem with that is we have several branches in some smaller communities, and so being able to staff every branch with that expertise is just something that's not feasible for a credit union of our size. Mm-hmm. But with video banking, as part of our operations model, we're able to put one of those experts in every branch, and with the onset of mobile in someone's hands. And so that was another big component of moving towards the Invo banking model. And I will say it didn't come without some serious trepidation and fear as to what this would be, not only to our internal staff, because it's a pretty big shakeup in how they do business each and every day. I mean, their home branch changes, the way they do business changes. Me as a people person, I truly do enjoy that time, in an office with a member. So it changes the way that they do business. And then obviously, at the time and even still, nobody in any of the markets that we do business in had any type of operations model like this. There weren't even many that had ITMs in place. So this was truly something brand new for our markets. But yeah, that was probably the top two reasons for moving towards the video banking.
Yeah, and you guys are several years in now, and I think that's what I love about having you here to talk about this today. I really try to effort to bring different customers and clients and people that I know that are in different phases of that journey, if you will. So I'm gonna go back to, and this isn't like, hey, I'm going to test your memory now, but you identified two things that I hear constantly, and those things still persist today. What is the member going to, how is the member going to respond? Like in making sure that you're positively impacting that member experience and not taking away from it. And then secondarily is the employees. How do you ensure that this only augments and accelerates that culture component of the credit union, and people don't see this as a reduction in headcount tool? And I view you as the project champion. You were the one who was the cheerleader for this innovation. How did you ensure, or maybe you weren't able to ensure, but what steps did you take to try to get ahead of that, positively affect that, or minimize maybe some of the fallout that could possibly come with those two things?
Yeah, so for the internal messaging, we took our entire branch manager team to Invo HQ so they could, to Topeka, to Azura, to see the software in action. They met with Preston, who was over the area at the time. They met with a couple of branch managers. We got to go in and see the loan officer side of things to see how they operated, get firsthand input from them as to what that change has looked like and how it has felt, how it has been. We sat in what we call member suites and interacted with the loan officers to see, again, what was that perception going to be? How is that going to feel from the member side? And then the individuals that oversee the branches and oversee the loan officers, we took the trip to Invo HQ and heard from Jake and the team and got to see it in action at the credit union. And just, again, getting that internal buy-in so that the messaging from top to bottom was one that was positive and one that we were going to make this work. And it's going to be a great change for the credit union and for our members was very, very, very important to the rollout. We did it kind of in a fun way. We did it at All Staff Development Day, and I actually did the rollout via video. Since we were moving to video, we did the rollout through video. So we had interactions and questions and things through the video channel, which I'm hoping, made that feel a little bit different to see what it looks like, on a bigger scale.
That's great. I've not heard anybody else do that before. So that's a Jeremy original. That's good.
Once in a while, once in a while.
Once in a while you strike gold. Is that what that is?
Once in a while.
No, I think that's great. Over the time period that you have had video banking deployed, let's talk about some of the challenges. And so this isn't this is probably different than maybe we talked early on about, participating in case studies or testimonials. Like my version of that is much different. I want you to be honest about what were some of the headaches. And so when you think about, hey, you've done everything you can to set expectations on the member and the employee side for success. It's going to only be rainbows and unicorns the whole way, right?
Yeah.
But it's not, right? There's always going to be a storm front that rolls through at some point in time. So let's talk about that, because I think that's the only way that we learn and get better. And if you are willing to share, and I didn't preface you with this either, so if nothing comes to mind, then that's totally cool too. Ryan will edit this out later. But the best part about doing that is, you might mention something that someone else has a fear about or hasn't even considered, and they're like, okay, I've got now something to put into my playbook to maybe head that off if it happens. So that being said, what challenges internally or externally have you seen along the path? And you can go as far back or as deep as you want on this. I'm just curious as to what you've seen at Heartland.
I mean, some of the main ones at the beginning were what you would expect, certain members that just would not use the Invo software, what we call connections. They would not go into what they call the room. I'm not going into the room. I want to talk to a real person. So being able to have either an MCS, which is our member connection specialist, the concierge that checks the members in, having them, be very versed in de-escalating those situations, and then a backup plan if they're not going to do it, having a branch manager there and readily available most of the time. And then what we've gone kind of a step further is after the branch manager, sometimes even before they speak with the member in the office, they'll go into the member suite with them and sit down, let's just give this a try together. So that way, the next time you come in, if I'm out on a business development call, on vacation, whatever the case may be, but not branch, you've got this channel to be able to get taken care of. Because, I'm very, very confident that once you go through this once, you're going to have no issues going forward. And, that relationship that member has built with the branch manager, they trust that. So many times they listen to that and they'll go through the experience and they leave feeling like, why was there any fear going into this? It was great. The other one was uncovered. It's been a little while, but through the video archives, which let me tell you is an absolutely wonderful tool to be able to go back and watch those interactions for coaching opportunities, sometimes for compliance reasons, sometimes for member complaints. Although this is not the norm in all financial institutions, being, involved in this operations for since 2019, so going on 4 years now, we can get a little bit complacent. And so you really, as a financial service rep on the other side of that camera, have to be above and beyond with your energy level to make that member feel like this is a very personalized interaction, that it's no different than if I was right there in the office with you. Okay, and going back and watching some of the video footage, it was noticed that level of member experience was really deteriorating. Our level of excitement was really not where it should be. And it felt like we were very content with where it was and that it was old hat, whereas for a lot of our members, it's not. And being able to keep that, top of mind, that each and every time could be the first time any member has interacted with their favorite loan officer this way. So let's treat it as such and go above and beyond. That's not been an easy thing to change. It's, again, kind of redeveloping habits, but we've made strides over the last 90 days or so.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, I really appreciate the honesty there, and I love the fact that you're willing to look in the mirror, right, on that. And I think that's what everyone has to do, and that's not easy to do, right? If we're going to be honest with ourselves, the last thing we want to do is say, "Hey, this is not working," and maybe there's some things we can do different to make the experience better. But I love that. I think any chance you have an opportunity to wow a member is a great thing,
Yeah,
right? And why
absolutely.
not? Why not surprise them and show them that it is easy and fun? And you're right. You do have to convey positivity and almost, more than you might when you're in person, right?
Yep.
Because it's through video. But I
Yeah,
mean,
need to be a
it's
little over
very,
the top.
yeah, you have to be a little over the top. And there's some of that which is some roles and some professionals just, are made for that. And I've had conversations with other clients who said, we identified, hey, these individuals are super charismatic. We're putting them in front of the video. And then others are much better in engaging and asking questions. So we're going to create a role for them in the branch, and maybe they become that concierge and they're engaging members and helping them to onboard in video. And
Yeah.
I think you have to be honest with yourself, right, and analyze that. But
Yep, absolutely.
that's like what we talked about earlier, the audit process. You're doing the audit process with this channel as well, which is fantastic. So what's next when you think about this channel specifically? Do you have future plans in the Jeremy playbook for the next chapter of video banking or tools within this arena? What are your thoughts on the go forward into next year and beyond?
Well, thinking of self-serve and where so many things seem to be going, we just been talking and thinking and having something outside of the office where we may not even need the MCS for those members that don't want to talk to anybody, don't want to be checked in. Maybe a QR code that someone can walk into a branch, scan with their smartphone, and that queues up that kiosk in the member suite and gets their loan officer ready to go for them as they walk in. We have not onboarded the scheduling platform. We're still working on what that would look like. So we don't want to onboard something that we're not living up to our members' expectations. We really thought the mobile side was going to, just take off like gangbusters. Thought that members would want to really utilize that, and that has not been the case. So figuring out what that looks like for future operations is definitely something that's on my mind. Because if I don't have to come in, will I come in? Would I use the video versus the phone? Just, kind of wrestling with what does that look like for our members and for the future?
Yeah, I think you're asking the right questions. And the first route may not be the correct one, but being willing to consider, where the behaviors go. And that's what I've really seen is so many significant changes and shifts in behavior from the customers and the member is trying to get out in front of that. Right. And, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I'm like, we can do a really good job as an industry or as a vertical following what they're doing in retail, right? Back to if two days is too long, right? So I always use these benchmarks of who has thrived since 2020 on the commercial side and what did they do, right, to really ensure that they're thriving today. I think that we see the financial space as sometimes fast followers, and if we're real honest, sometimes laggards of technology innovation, right? But the good thing is we can get it right by doing it that way too. And members are going to change how they want to do things too, right? So you look at the mobile platform, for instance. I mean, we've got clients who deployed video on mobile, and they had 75 to 77% of a shift from phone and telephony support to video. And it was unexpected. Like they didn't even deploy that channel for that purpose, but the resolutions were faster. Their membership base preferred face-to-face. They were kind of shocked by that. Actually, they had to realign their call center teams to support that. They had to train them on that.
Yeah, you'd have to,
yeah, but not everybody responds that way. And it's also about where you place those things. And but identifying that maybe that's the next chapter for sure. Now, something you mentioned in there, I just want to make as a point of clarity. So today, there's a number of ways that video banking can be used, and you guys are literally using what I say is the live model, right? So you're engaging your members ad hoc or live. So when they walk in or they get on, if they're accessing digital, you're not doing any scheduled events today. Everything is live during your business hours. You're servicing the member when they need help today. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct.
And so then you're analyzing, hey, what if we give the member the ability to schedule in the future as well? What's the thought process there about the why or the reason for even investigating that and in the good and the bad, maybe both. I don't know. What's your thoughts though on maybe adding that additional layer of service?
Just something else to allow our members that feel of control over the situation when they're coming in to meet with us, to know that they're going to have someone ready and available because that appointment is set, it's ready to go. And that's our fear on the backside, is we don't want that loan officer to get tied up in a call that, they got an appointment at 3:00, but they got a call at 2:45 and it's taken a lot longer than they expected it to be. So those are the concerns about it. Will the advantage of having it outweigh the risks of it really not hitting the mark?
That's good. Yeah, I think that's good. And, the scheduling component. So for those that might be here as a new insider, Jeremy is referencing the scheduling tool that allows you to manage meetings in advance for video. They could be in branch or online and digital. It could also be scheduling meetings with staff and personnel. Are you guys looking at any of those channels specifically, or are you considering all of those things, managing in-person meetings as well as video meetings, or have you got that far in the consideration of a strategy?
The first phase we were thinking about is the video side.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I think that I've seen some successful marketing behind that, right? So being able to put, and I think the word was control. I think that hits the nail on the head. Like, how do you equip the members to be in control of their financial destiny, if you will, which is how they interact with you as their financial services providers. So I think that's good. What is it? So let's go back big picture. So we've drilled into Invo, how you arrived at here, how you deployed some of this technology with video specifically. What's next for Heartland? When you think about innovation, what is next on the horizon, either that you already have in deployment or that is on the roadmap or that is on Jeremy's wish list? Let's go big picture there. What do you want to do? What's your next big mark that you're going to make on Heartland?
Yeah, the plans right now, we're going through a new account opening vendor search. And right now we've got our own in-house built solution, which, while it gets the job done, it doesn't meet that seamless user experience, quick expectation that new applicants would have. So we're looking at a few vendors and narrowing down to the top 2 or 3 right now. The goal we were given is to have the account opening process from call to action, clicking the button, to funding the account done in less than 5 clicks, which we've not found a vendor that can deliver on that. So we're not going to necessarily meet the goal, but we're looking at reducing the time to open an account from anywhere from 20 to 25 minutes down to less than 5, much fewer clicks, obviously, in there. And the ability to fund the accounts without having any human intervention if it's not needed. And to me, that's really going to elevate our ability to turn those conversations that we have with a member in a suite, instead of data entry. We'll be able to look at them, have that conversation, and try to figure out what is that next step in their financial lives, and how can Heartland be that solution and that partner, and walk with them to reach that goal, versus what's your social security number, how long were at your last address, what's your date of birth. Really finding a way to make these operating software fit with our expectation of being a relationship builder and not a transaction.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, I'm going to encourage you on that journey. You had more to say, though. I'm going to hear what you were going to say.
Yeah, I was going to say the other thing is what the vendor we're working with calls a universal communication as a service. So right now our contact center or eBranch utilizes chat, text, obviously phone, and then our digital banking chat messages that come through, and they're all in separate softwares. So thinking of 400 500 phone calls a day, numerous text messages, all kinds of different chat messages, and being able to really efficiently handle those requests coming in from the member. It's kind of a chaotic mess at times, I'm sure, for that team. And this will allow them to work all of those areas from one software and provide some additional tools and resources with templates and one-to-many text messages. I mean, just all kinds of additional tools and resources that we can now provide to that team, which is going to make that member experience much better. Again, going back to their ability to be relationship builders and not transactors.
Yeah, I think that's great. One of the things that, and I'll give you, you gave me a really good word about putting the member in control. And I like that. I'll use that. I'm going to give you credit though. So don't worry about that. I'll make sure that everybody knows where that knowledge comes from. That's right. It's about, for me, and when we evaluate, what are we doing well, right, as a software company? What do we need to be doing? Where could we improve? What different areas could we maybe impact? That word for me is collaboration. And so I'm like, how can we enhance or augment as many channels as we can to equip better collaboration between you, the financial partner, and the member, the true consumer? And it's what you just articulated. It's like, let them choose what that looks like and feels like, because it depends on where I'm at physically, what channel I might use, right? If I'm at the office and I'm in a meeting, I may exclusively be on that mobile app. But if I'm at home, I might have my laptop open. I'm on your website. But if I'm driving across town, it may be a lot quicker to just swing by the branch as opposed to get on a phone call to get something. So each one of those things is a channel, fostering better collaboration, I think, is something I'm passionate about. And you just reiterated it. So it's affirming for me to hear that's also on your mission as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, I have a question for you. I've asked you a couple different ways and a couple different times about your perspectives on member service and then also the mission of Heartland. What is it that makes Heartland Credit Union special? If you were to encapsulate all the things you talked about, the acronym of the heart of Heartland and these channels, if you were to give an elevator pitch about why you would want a member to come to Heartland, why would that be?
I mean, it would really be our ultimate mission, like the vision states, is helping our members reach their financial dreams. And us as an organization, knowing that each of those dreams are different, and we may not be prepped and prepared day one to reach that dream, but our job as a loan officer, as a teller, as a branch manager, whatever that role or position may be, our job is to find a way to create that path to get you, to that ultimate financial dream. And all that really funnels into our job here is to find a way to yes. That yes may not be a yes to what you came in for today, but we're going to find some yes in this conversation to build upon to get us to that big yes that you were looking for today. So to me, that's what makes us different, and that's what it has been since I started at Heartland, which is something that's near and dear to my heart. Is that we're not constantly changing who we are and what we want to be. This is the Heartland way, and this is what we're here to do.
Find the yes. Man, that's good. Man, you've had some real jewels out of this conversation today. I think that's fantastic. Second to last question. Go back to Invo. You've deployed this technology for years. You've seen a ton of different things. You've improved upon it. Talk about briefly some of the outcomes from this. So how has this positively impacted maybe the operational side at Heartland, which fosters that, making you guys unique? But talk a little bit about why it's been good to use Invo and what are some of the measurable outcomes that you guys have experienced?
Yeah, it's really gone a long way. I mean, just thinking of the sales side of things, we've seen a dramatic increase in the ancillary product sales, most being in the mechanical breakdown, warranty protection, and gap sales. And I do believe that's through the collaboration of the individual loan officers. Also some great coaching from leadership of that department. But I just truly believe that they learn really, really well from each other and being in that kind of environment together versus in an office really by yourself, and maybe bouncing some ideas off of teams here and there, but it's not the same as being next to someone and hearing their pitch and learning from one of those high performers to elevate your game. The other piece is the staffing side, like you spoke to earlier. Hiring has been a challenge for a while, And thankfully enough, the loan officer side, there it obviously is painful when we lose loan officers for
Of course.
various
Yeah.
reasons, but we're able to cover those vacancies at least with a little less stress and a little less pain in operations because of the video software. The wait times may be elevated a little bit, but just because 2 loan officers are gone at our Avenue A branch doesn't mean lending stops at that branch. We still have the ability to provide that. And then some unforeseen successes, I would say, is we've gone through 2 mergers recently, one in Hays, Kansas, and one in Ness City, Kansas.
Okay.
And we haven't had to increase staff size at all. And we've been able to provide all of our specialized services to those communities. Ness is very unique. I don't know if you're familiar with Ness City, but it's a small community, 1,200 to 1,400 people. And truly, it could have been, a credit union desert. There may not have been a credit union if we didn't come in and merge with the shop. And I don't know that it would have made sense without, the ability for us to provide, the Invo software, all of our experts there without looking for 2 loan officers to person that branch.
Yeah, no, that's good. I love that. I love hearing the success stories. And, for me personally, at Invo, we create all these tools, but it's what you do with them that makes the difference. And so actually hearing the outcome is the most important part of this story to me. Jeremy, before we wrap up, let's go. What do you got?
I'll throw one more fun one in. I don't like talking about the pandemic because it's just a time in life I want to erase. But something that we did every year as a credit union is we had a Santa costume, and we'd have someone dress up and go to each one of our branches. And for a couple of hours, leading into Christmas, we would, have the kiddos come in and meet with Santa. And obviously not something that we could do during the pandemic. And so I hit up the idea with our marketing team that what if we had, Santa live from the North Pole through our member suites, all the kids could come in and talk to Santa. And so we did a Santa live promotion for 3 evenings, and the kids could come in and be checked into one of the suites, and it would, cue Santa up live from the North Pole. We had the office decorated like it was Santa's office, and it really was a big hit, and glad we were able to still deliver on, kind of a Heartland tradition, even when times were, way different than we've ever experienced.
I absolutely love that. And you know what? I haven't thought about that since that year, but I remember when you did that. I still remember that. I remember that ad campaign. I think we actually grabbed some screenshots and shared that out with a few others during that season because we were all trying to grasp onto good things, right? During that time. What a great and novel idea. I absolutely love it. In fact, I don't want to embarrass anybody on the team, but there's more than one person in this room who actually put their wish list through Santa through that channel. So I'm looking at them right now.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. He's real, and I know him. Jeremy, as we bring this to a close on a fun note, which is awesome, is there anything else that you would like to share as we call it a day?
No, I mean, nothing really on that front. I would just like to thank the Invo team. We've had some real support and help from Team Invo over the years, troubleshooting, helping with some of our internal tech and software. And the partnership is real, and I've just really appreciated that over the years.
I love that. And I honestly appreciate you saying that as well, Jeremy. And you and the team have been great to work with, but you guys actually helped us. And you have helped, and you continue to help us in a number of ways. But one way specifically out of what you just referenced is you helped us to develop our on-site team. So I'll keep it a super high level for the insiders, but there were some challenges we were dealing with within the physical video offices, and that required us to send some of our support team out of the Invo HQ on the road. And so we did what we do. Culture is a big part of this. So we created some Invo swag. We called it we gave it a name. Ryan, what did we call this? Do you remember now? It wasn't the SWAT team. It was like the tech team. The task force. We developed the Invo task force, and we had some swag made for it. The task force assembled and came on site, and you helped to really push us to grow our support side of the house. And what you may not even be aware of, Jeremy, is we now offer on-site implementation and training with every new client that comes on. And we didn't do that before. And so you really helped us to see, you really helped us to see how important it was that, hey, can we do this virtually? Yeah. And I would say 75% of our clients that have come on to Invo from the beginning have been virtual, but the in-branch is something that requires network connectivity and, ports and digital signature pads and testing. And you helped us to understand that, hey, hands-on solves things significantly better than virtually at times. And so you and the team at Heartland helped us to get better in a number of different ways, but that's a way you impacted us positively as well. So thank you. I really appreciate the partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Jeremy, I would like to say on behalf of everyone here at Invo, we are grateful for the partnership, and I am thankful for your time. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your afternoon with us. You are a great insider. You already were an insider, but thank you for really illuminating, I think, a lot of really key important topics for our guest today. So thank you for being here.
Yep, absolutely. You're welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jake.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.